Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I've got myself into a bit of a pickle today. Life has got in the way of me recording a video until now. It's very late, and this is the puzzle I was meant to do, and I've just looked it up on Logic Masters Germany, and it doesn't even have a rating. And I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but when the rating is sort of greyed out, I think that indicates it's the constructor's suggested rating, which seems to me to be 5 stars out of 5, and that is not a propitious thing indeed. Anyway, what is the puzzle? It's called Pack of Aces. It's by Mormagli. I've done a Mormagli puzzle on the channel before, I think. I want to say 2 or 3 months ago. But anyway, this has been recommended to us several times apparently, and is meant to be very wonderful, although it might also be very hard. Why have I got one of those rotating wheels of death? That doesn't that makes me worry that something's wrong with my computer as well. Anyway, so this is what I have to do. I don't have very long to record it, and if it is really 5 stars out of 5 for difficulty, that is quite terrifying. Anyway, what do I have to mention before we kick off? I will rush through. I don't have any birthdays. I just an appeal as always over on Patreon. Thank you so much if you support us over there. It is the best Sudoku club on earth. We've just finished the competition for this incredible Lord of the Rings Sudoku hunt from Blobz. That's still available now, so if you haven't had a chance to have a go at that, have a go at it. Everybody, literally everybody who has attempted and finished that hunt has absolutely loved it. It is sensationally good. There's probably other things I should say as well, but I'm distracted, so I'm going to try and focus. I'm going to have a look at Pack of Aces by Mormagli and read you the rules. Here we go. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply, which means that we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3 by 3 box. Then we've got it says normal renban rules apply, but it doesn't actually explain what they are. I will have to explain what normal renban rules mean. Basically, a pink line in this puzzle needs to contain a set of consecutive digits without repeats, but those digits can appear in any order. So let's say this square here was a 1. Then we would know that the other digits on this line had to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in some order. So it doesn't have to, it's not like a thermometer where the digits have to go, they always have to ascend or descend along the line. Literally, once we know there's a 1 on it, we know it's got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on it, and those can be sprinkled around as you like. Something like that would be legitimate. However, there is another rule. It says aces high. The digit 1 can count as either a 1 or a 10. For example, the digits 189 and 123 would make up a valid renban, but 129 would not. Okay, let's think about what that means. We haven't actually got any 3-cell renbans that we can do that example with, but 189 is a valid renban. Oh, I see, because the 1 is acting as a 10, so the actual sequence there is 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, because 1, 2, 3 is obviously a consecutive sequence. 1, 2, 9 doesn't work. Yeah, well, that's obvious as well, because whether we make that 1 equal to 10 or equal to 1, it's not a sequence. 1, 2, and 9 are not consecutive, and neither are 2, 9, and 10. Okay. And there's one more rule. The digits 1 and 9 may never be orthogonally adjacent. So what does orthogonally adjacent means? It means they share an edge. So if this square was a 1, you couldn't put 9 in any of those 3 cells, because to do so would be to make 1 and 9, or to place 1 and 9 in a domino. And basically, I suppose that's one way of describing this rule. 1 and 9 do not occur in a domino in this puzzle. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now, I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now. Okay. Well, my first thought here is that the puzzle's broken. It must be made not broken by this rule. Okay, I'll just go through my first thought process and we can discover why it's wrong. My first thought process is that a 5-cell renban, if this didn't have any funky rules in it, a 5-cell renban would always have a 5 on it, wouldn't it? Because you would always have to, if you imagine cutting consecutive digits, 5 consecutive digits from the set of digits 1 to 9, and you start as low as you can, then you'd have the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you started as high as you can, you'd have the digits 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. So 5 would always appear, but there cannot be 5 on all of these renbans, because that's going to make it very difficult indeed to put a 5 into row 7. And more to the point, if you've got 3 5s in 2 rows of the puzzle, you will necessarily break the rules of Sudoku. So somehow or other, the rule is affecting things. So the rule is that an ace, a 1, can count as a 10. So 10, 9, 8. Oh, I see. Yes, okay. Yes, oh, Maverick's flying past. What a surprise. So, okay. So that's quite interesting. So in fact, the only way that you can construct a 5-cell renban that doesn't have a 5 on it in this puzzle is very specific. It has to be a 1 counting as a 10, a 9, 8, 7, and 6. Right, and that means that one of these only is that. Because if 2 of them were that, like say this was 1, what are we saying? 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. If this was 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we tried to have another of these U pentominoes without a 5 on it, let's make that one. Now we've got a big problem with Sudoku in row 7 again, because the digits 1, 6, 7, 8, and 9 could not go in those squares, so they'd all have to pack into that little triumvirate, and there are 5 digits to place in 3 cells, so that doesn't work. So actually, exactly one of these U pentominoes is 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is sort of interesting. 2 of them have 5 on them. So, no, that doesn't matter. Okay. So what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe it's nothing to do with this. Maybe it's to do with the others. There are some very long renban lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's an 8-cell renban line. But okay. But because we've got this funny rule, that's not actually as prescriptive as it might otherwise, or might usually be. If you normally had an 8-cell renban line, the only digits you couldn't put on the line would be a 1 or a 9, because the line would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But this, we're actually effectively selecting 8 digits from 1 to 10. So there aren't a plethora of options, but there are slightly more options than there are normally. You've got to put a 5. That's right, you've got to put a 5 on a 6-cell renban. So there's got to be a 5 in one of those squares. Yeah, okay. 3. I'm just checking that one is 6 as well. I thought it was. This 5, well, we have to put a 5 on this renban as well. So that has to be in one of those squares. That is a little interesting. That is a little interesting, because if you study that pattern for a moment, what I'm seeing is that those pencil marks only cover 2 units of Sudoku, in the sense that if we, let's just make that one colour and this another colour, and we ask how many 5s there are in blue and green. If we correctly complete this puzzle, how many 5s will there be in blue? Well, 1. That's one box of the Sudoku. How many 5s will there be in green? 1, because that's one row of the Sudoku. But we've just worked out that there has to be a 5 on this line, And there has to be a 5 on this line. So the two 5s that exist in these two Sudoku units are packed into just those squares, which means there are no 5s in those squares, which is we could have sort of seen anyway. Well, no, we couldn't. No, we couldn't. That's still good. Okay, so there's no 5 in any of those squares. Now, obviously, those 3 could never have been a 5, but these can't be 5. But also, there's no 5 in these either, or that one. So there's... Ooh. No, that's not quite good enough, is it? No, I think I could... I was wondering if I could conclude that there's no 5 on that line, but I don't think I can, because that could be a 5, and then that would be a 5, and then one of these two would be a 5. No. All right, sorry. Okay. But... Right, I'm going to go back to my earlier thought now then. We were thinking about the eupentomenos, weren't we? And we deduced that only one of these smiley faces didn't have a 5 on it, because there was only one way of making a smiley face without a 5, and that was if it was 19876, and we couldn't have two smiley faces with those criteria. Well, this is interesting. Well, it's a little tiny bit interesting. What I'm now noticing is that if we know that two smiley faces have 5s on them, it's not these two smiley faces, because that would prevent us from putting a 5 anywhere in... well, it would break the logic we've already discovered, which tells us that there is definitely a 5 in one of these 3 squares, and there is definitely a 5 in one of those squares. So if we had 5s on this line and this line, the world would be broken. Now, because we know that 2 of these smiles do have 5s on them, I now know there is a 5 on that one. I know it's not much, but that is true. There is a 5 on this one. This does feel a bit deliberate, actually. Well, because now I'm seeing this line as not having 5 on it at all, because the great big line, the other line we were looking at earlier, that's got 8 cells on it, so that's definitely got a 5 on it. But the 5 isn't in green, and the 5 isn't there. So the 5 on this line is in, well, actually it's not there either. So the 5 in this line is in one of 4 places, but the real point is that now I can't put a 5 at all on this line. Now, what does that mean? That means that this line is... Well, does it mean it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's 6, 7, 8, 9? No, it doesn't. Because it could be, I've just realised it could be 7, 8, 9, 1. That's so stupid. Okay, so it doesn't mean that, sorry. Right. Okay, so what do I now know that one of these smiles is that extreme thing, isn't it? The, let's just make it this one. What was it? It was going to be 9, 8, 7, 1, and 6, because the 1 is acting as a 10. There needs to be one of these, because I can't put 5 on all the smiles. So if this... Well, it's either this one or this one has got this profile, which is going to make those squares or these squares have to be 2, 3, 4, 5. That feels bad. There's something bugging me here. I can't quite see what it is. I'm just going to put this in for a second and have a look at it. So if we were in this world, so you couldn't put 5 on here either. But But I'm not sure whether... If this was 1, 6... If this was 1, 6, 7, 8, 9... These would be 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's tricky, this, because you don't really... Because I don't like doing this. Because I'm starting to look at this and think about, you know, this line, whereas actually this might be here, and then I've got to put 2, 3, 4, 5 in there, and that's a quite different thing. I mean, if this was 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, these would be low digits on this sort of vertical strut thing, which couldn't have a 5 on it. So okay, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is quite interesting. 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, that's wrong though, isn't it? Well, no, this is tricky because it's right here. If you put 1, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, then this is 1, 2, 3, 4 because you can't put 5 on this line. But if you put it here, I'm less sure that that conclusion holds. Let me look at that. If that's 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is 2, sorry, all of these squares are 2, 3, 4, 5. We know that's not 5. I don't think I know this isn't 5, but I might be wrong. No, I am wrong. Okay. Sorry, I've realised something. Sorry, my phone is buzzing. Yeah. Okay, this goes back to the earlier point, whereby yeah, this is interesting. Okay, let me just explain. So let's go back to this example. I know that 2 of the smiles have 5s on them. So if 2 of the smiles have 5s on them, you can't put 5 in any of these squares, because that would be a third 5 in the 2 rows that contain the smiles, because you'd have a 5 on the base of the vertical strut and 2 5s in the smiles, and that would be 3 5s in 2 rows, so that doesn't work. So actually, whether this is here or here, the implication of that is interesting, because if this was 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, this will be 2, 3, 4, 5, just as it is here. But again, look, these will be from 2, 3, and 4 then, because 5 can't repeat in green. And these squares can't include a 5, because we know that the 5 in blue is in one of those squares. So this would be, this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. And the same is true here, but it's due to the fact that there's a 5 here having this effectively the same effect. So either this strut or this strut is a 1, 2, 3 vertical thingy, technical term. Now what I don't know is what that means, and whether there's a difference between, well, no, there is a bit of a difference, in the sense that if it's this one, these squares have to be massive, because they can't be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, they'd have to be 6, 7, 8 or 9. If it's this one, it's a bit different, because 5 is an option up there, because the 5s here prevent this from being a 5, and that's not a 5, so there would be a 5 up there. This looks odd, doesn't it? What does that mean? Actually, how do you... Oh, I see. I was about to say, how do you ever put a 1 on a renban in this box? Because I was like, but that's got a 6 attached to it at least, and that's got a 6 attached to it. And I can't put a 1 anyway. But of course you can in this puzzle, because 1 can count as 10. Right. No, this doesn't work. Right, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 now. I can tell you that for nothing. Because... let's just analyse this for a moment. It is exactly the point I was worried about. Where is 1 up here? And the answer is we have literally no idea. Well, it's in one of 6 positions, but wherever it is on a renban that has a 6, 7, 8 or a 9 digit on it. So it can't be sort of 1, 2, 3 and 4 because it won't be consecutive. The 1 has to count as a 10, which means just say this was the 1, then this strut will be, it would have to be 9, 8, 7 in order to be consecutive because it's basically a 7, 8, 9, 10 line. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But where on earth now? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it doesn't work because where do I put 2 in this box? And the answer is over here somewhere. There's no ability to use a 1, so this has to be 3, 4, 5, but it can't be. And that's the difference over here. The availability of the 5 will allow this to work somehow, but it definitely doesn't work here. So this is massive, because basically we've now proved that this is not the 1, 2, 3, well, it's not this line. This line lives exactly here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm going to label this up very... Oh, well, hang on. What's that then? Okay, that's... Yeah, 5 lives up here. So it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 6, 7, 8, or 9. I'm sorry for all the excessive pencil marking. But I want to think about this. Because now... Yeah, so now look at this box. 1 is not in this central strut. So 1 is either here or here. Where again... 1, 2, 3, 4 is the longest renban you could construct, and because there's at least a 5 on both renbans, the 1 can't count as having a value of 1. The 1 needs to have a value of 10 and be on a line which is 1, 9, 8, 7. Now, what does that mean? So that means, but then the other renban will have 2 on it, and that will need to be 2, 3, 4, 5, so there is a 6 here. There you go. That has to be. There is no other way that can work. So there is definitely one of these lines is 2, 3, 4, 5. The other is 1, 7, 8, 9. But I do know there's a 5 in one of those positions. Okay. I do know there's a 5. I know there's a 5 on that smile now, definitely. So this isn't a 5. Yeah, okay. So there's a 5 in one of these two, and a 5 in one of these two. What a fascinating part. How long have I had? How could I have had 23 minutes? I love puzzles like this. I just get lost in them. Right, so now what do we do? I don't know. Well, no, what I was about to say was absolute nonsense, so I'm not saying that. Well, no, actually, I'm going to say something, which is, yeah, this is reasonable, I think. How many of the smiles can contain a 6? And again, the answer is only 2, isn't it? That must be right. I definitely can't have 3 6s on smiles, because if I had 3 6s on smiles, I couldn't put a 6 in row 7 at all, and I'd have too many 6s in rows 8 and 9. So one smile doesn't have 6 on it, and if it doesn't have 6 on it, what does it have on it? It can't have 7, 8 or 9 anymore, because it's 5 cells, and 7, 8, 9, even with 10, is only a 4-cell renban. So one of these renbans is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. which is very interesting. I don't really know. One of them is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm gonna attempt that with this one. Just because I'm going to get confused if I start thinking about that, because the point is either this smile or this smile is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't want to use that. You can see the geometry is very similar in each sort of each case. We've sort of got these plunger shapes. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is 6, 7, 8, 9. Now what's that doing? It's still true to say, yeah, okay. This logic carries on, i.e., if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these would be 6, 7, 8, 9. But again, you can't put 5 on this strut, and you can't put 5 on this strut because of our pencil marks. So this strut, oh, but this could have 1 on it, could it? Oh, I don't believe it. Oh, that's rotten. No, okay, so it's not clear. I was about to say, because these digits are both high, this had to be, I was going to say it had to be 6, 7, 8, 9, but that's wrong. Because actually, it occurs to me, what would happen if one of these was a 1 counting as 10, then it could be 9, 8, 7. That's rotten. That is rotten. And that's going to affect how these work as well, isn't it? Because if that's 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, it's really interesting. I know, never bump into me at a party. The conversations that I can have. It is interesting to me. If that's 6, 7, 8, 9. Now neither of these it's weird. So the point is that now 9 in this column, or in this box, 9 is on a renban. I don't know where, but it's on a renban. But the weird thing is that renban can't be 9876, can it? So imagine that the 9 was there, just for the sake of exposition. Normally, we'd then say, well, that's a consecutive sequence, so it's 9876. But it can't be 9876 because that cell can't exist now. So actually, wherever the 9 goes, it has to be with a 1. So one of these renbans, don't know which one, if this was 6, 7, 8, 9, would be 1, 7, 8, 9. And then so that in this iteration, this is going to be a 2, I'm going to claim, because on the other renban, you're going to have to put a 6 because of Sudoku, and that 6 can't partner up with 7, 8, or 9, so the 6 is going to have to partner up with 6, 5, 4, and 3, and that's going to be a 6, 5, 4, 3 renban. And therefore you've got to put 2 there. But this is all predicated on nonsense, because it's predicated on this being necessarily 6, 7, 8, 9, which it doesn't have to be. Although if this is what's it going to be? It's going to be 1, 9, or 10, 9, 8, 7. Let's just have a think about that. Let's have a think about it. Let's just put it in like that for the sake of exposition. If this was a vertical strut that was 10, 9, 8, 7, then again you're going to have to put, 9 is going to be on one side of this, on a renban, I suppose, and that can't be on a 10, 9, 8, 7 renban. So it's going to be on a 9876 renban, and then 1 is going to be on a renban, and that can't count as 10, so there's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 renban. So that means you're going to put 5 in the middle of the... This is so clever. Honestly, this is ridiculously clever. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Well, No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I thought that was telling me something very important, but it's not. Well, because the problem here is that this could move here. But if it did move here, so if this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moved here, then I would know the nature of this string, because I couldn't put 5 there. What we've learnt, in effect, this is complicated. What we've learnt is that whatever this is, whatever this vertical string is, this square is 2 or 5. Oh, no, okay. I don't know how to do that, I'm afraid. So, yeah, it's very difficult. It's very awkward because this whole setup down here, we've got to be aware could be here. And it would be very useful if it was here, because then I would know that this was a 2, because it couldn't be a 5 because of this given digit. And then that would have some implication for what that would be. Okay, so let's try and work out what this one has to be then. So, because we do know that this thing here is either here or here. Because we know this one is definitely on the right. I can't remember how we know that now, but we did. We definitely worked that out. So, yeah, we did work that out. The way we worked that out was that we worked out there had to be a 1, 6, 7, 8, 9 smile somewhere. We knew that wasn't there because that one definitely has a 5 on it. And somehow we worked out it couldn't be there. Yeah, and we worked out it couldn't be there because this couldn't work. Yeah, okay, that's fair, that's fair. So all we've got to do is work out what this is, what this has got on it, or what this has got on it. We know this has got 5 on it. Well, it doesn't have 9. Okay, it doesn't have 9 on it. Because if this had 9 on it, it would have 9, 8, 7 and 6 on it. And it would have 4 overlaps with this smile. And it can't have 4 overlaps with that smile, because then I'd have to put 9, 8, 7 and 6 in those squares. And there are 4 digits to put in 3 squares, so there's no 9 on there. So there's definitely a 9 in one of these. That is true. And the same's... no... well... 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, okay, the same is true for 1. If I put 1 on here, this would have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 renban. Because it couldn't be a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 renban. That's got too many digits on it. So if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these squares would have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple. So there's no 1 on here. So this is interesting, isn't it? Because there was that funny rule about 1s and 9s never being orthogonal. Yeah, that square can't be a 1 or a 9. I mean, this is difficult because this could be over here, but the same point arises. If this square was 1 or 9, it is going to be orthogonally connected to its friend, so it's not 1 or 9. And 1s and 9s live in these 3 squares or in these 3 squares. Right. So... but can't we do the same with 2? If 2 is on here, this renban will be 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will have 4 digits in common, and that will break the world, because I can't put 4 digits into those squares. So there is no 2 on here, so there is a 2 in one of those squares. Now, so this line doesn't have 2 on it, or 1 or 9. So it's either 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it would have 3. This would be a 6, 7, 8 triple. Although, again, this could be over here. This is really complicated. But if it was, what was the other one? If it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it would have 3 in common with that one. And these would be 3, 4, 5. And then, okay, and the spare digit that we're getting, so the spare digit that goes in here is extreme within what's left over. So there's either a 3 in here with the 1, 2 and the 9, or there's an 8 in here with the 1, 2 and the 9. If there was a 3 in here, this would be low, because 9 would have no partner. That's quite interesting. But does that, it does survive there. That does survive. That's the same logic here, because you can't put 5 on the line. So this would be, oh, I'm not sure. Well, what I'm wondering is whether that's possible at all, because when we worked out, maybe it's possible here, but not here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'll show you the thing I'm thinking about. I can't quite see it through to its conclusion. Hang on a second. Let me just, before I embark on a great explanation of nonsense, let me just think about this for a second. If that is low, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at the top. That's just fully broken. That's fully broken. Yeah, no, this is fine. This is okay, I think. I think it's broken. I think what we're being told here is, that this line has got 3 on it. Whether it's here or here. But let me explain why, and we'll see if everybody agrees. So, if this line doesn't have 3 on it, then these squares are 1, 2, 3 and 9. Let's put it in. 1, 2, 3 and 9. Now, we know this square is not 1 or 9, because that's going to cause that orthogonal problem. So this square is a low digit. It's a 2 or a 3. And that would be the same here. This would be a 2 or a 3. But this line and this line can't have 5 on them. So once you establish this is a 2 or a 3, and it's a 4-cell renban, this renban is 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it was here it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. But that is a problem, because if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, now here's the bit which we've got to be very careful about. Ignore this 5, because this 5 is only available to use logically in this column, and I'm trying to make a general point. I'm saying whether this is 1, 2, 3, 4 or this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it collapses to this one, which is these squares now have to be selected from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is going to be the same here. But as this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 is on a line. And how do we make that work? Well, that's going to have to be a 1, 9, 8, 7 line, isn't it? And now I can't put 2 on a renban, and I need to, so it doesn't work. It's just broken. It's just broken. It's uniformly broken. So that's beautiful, because that allows me, I think, to conclude that this is not 1, 2, 3, 9, so it is 1, 2, 8, 9. Now that's good and bad. It's well, and bear in mind that could be here as well. But this is 1, 2, 8, 9. These squares are therefore 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is not 1 or 9 because then it will orthogonally connect to a naughty cell. So that's 2 or 8, which means this square is not 2 or 8 because it's got to be consecutive. So this is either. But if this is 1, 2, don't I have the same problem? This can't be 1, 2. If this is 1, 2, this is 3, 4. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4 line. I'm back into exactly the same problem, which is I'm going to have to put the digit 6 in one of these squares. Yeah, sorry, I hope that was clear. When we looked up here and we were looking at this option, and we worked out one of these had to be 1, 7, 8, 9. The 2, which has to exist on the other side, is going to be on a 2, 3, 4, 5 renban, and this is going to be a 6 in the middle, which is going to clash. So I hope that was clear. But I think the same is true here, isn't it? So this, well, let's be clear. What are we exactly saying? What we're saying is that this line is an 8, 9 line, but it might not be here. So 8 and 9, because it can't be a 1, 2 line without giving us the same problem, which is having to put a 6 into one of these squares. So this is 8, 9. Or this is 8, 9. 8. Now be careful, Simon. There's no. But we don't know, do we? Okay, all right, but this would be 8, 9, so that would be surrounded by a 1, 2 pair. Yeah, so here we have to be incredibly careful. Okay, so what I just want everybody to be aware that this might not be here, it might be here. And if these swap round, this is here. So I think I can do logic like this. I can say 8 would then be in this square. And that's going to work vice versa. I mean, if this is a 1, 2 pair, and this is 8, 9, and this is the 6, 7, 8, 9 of this box, then that's going to force an 8 here. So I think there is similar logic going on. So 8 and 9 are going to exist always as a pair in these two squares. But does that help us now? Yeah, that might help us to get this digit, you know. Yeah, that must be right, actually. But let me just think. I'm just trying to think about something else as well. Hang on. Oh golly, this is so confusing. This is so confusing. If that's the case, how does this work? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can't visualize it. Okay, so I'm going to have to keep going with the other logic I was going to do. Right. Right. So the point I wanted to think about was this. I think this is a fair thing to think about, which is that we did the analysis here on the basis this strut had two options. This strut was either 1, counting as 10, 9, 8, 7, or it was 6, 7, 8, 9, and that led to 2 options here. Now what I'm thinking is, isn't that the same here? Once we know 9 is on this line, and I do know that in the box that has the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which could be this box, that 9 is on this line, because it couldn't be a 1, 2 pair here, because that would break this square by making it a 6. So this is also subject to the same sort of dynamics as this one, and I think that's going to mean that this square is a 2 or a 5, and if that's right, because of the given digit, it will be a 2, and that will be a 5, and that might be useful. That's what I'm thinking. So if this is a 9, well, actually let's be clear, this is an 8, 9 pair, but bear in mind it might be here. But in the column where this is an 8, 9 pair, these digits are either a 1, 7 pair, making this 10, 9, 8, 7, or a 6, 7 pair. One of those things is true. And the renban up here, therefore, or the effect of that on the renbans up here, is to say 9 is on one side or the other. See, you do have to analyse this separately, otherwise it just gets confusing. If this is 9, 8, 6, 7, 9 is on one of these sides, on a line that can't be 9, 8, 6, 7, so would be 1 or 10, 9, 8, 7. 10, 9, 8, 7. And on the other line would be a 6, which would have to be 6, 5, 4, 3. And there would have to be a 2 in the middle. And that works. That works. But if we do it the other way, if we make this 1, 7 instead, then I think this won't work. I think that's going to put a 5 here, but let's think it through. So now 9 again is on one side or the other, and it can't be on a line that's 9, 8, 7, 1, because then these squares would be unfillable on that line. So it's on a line that is 9, 8, 7, 6, and the 1 on the other side then can't count as 10, so it has to be on a 1, 2, 3, 4, which puts 5 in the middle where it cannot go. So this square is definitely a 2, this square is definitely a 5. I know what this line is. This line is the 6, 7 version, isn't it? I'm just going to double check that again. I'm sure it is, but I'm getting confused. Yes, it is. Because that allows me to have a line here that's going to be 1, 9, 8, 7. And a line, and then 6 will be on the other side, and that will be on a 6, 5, 4, 3 line. And it works. So this line is correct. But no, it's not. It is correct in toto. It is correct. It is true to say this line is 6, 7, 8, 9. But don't forget, it could be this line still. This is so confusing. Now this line, on the other hand, has a 5 on it. So this line is definitely the version of this which is 1, 7, 8, 9. And we know, this is where it gets confusing, it's very hard, at least it's very hard for me to visualize, because this could move here and vice versa. So although I know the contents of these lines, this is absolutely correct. Let's get rid of green. I'm going to have to get rid of green. I'm going to get rid of green and get rid of blue. I'm going to say that this line is absolutely correct. This line is absolutely correct. But the weird thing is that these might switch or stay the same. So this might be a 1, 2 pair, or this might be a 1, 2 pair. And okay, but here the corollary of that is that there's no 1 down here, is there? That's never the case. Because if this is a 1, 2 pair, this is an 8, 9. And if this is not a 1, 2 pair, it's a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. So there's definitely a 1 here. Ah, okay, that's interesting. It's weird. It's weird that I know these lines, but I don't know these smiles that accompany the lines. But the truth of the matter is that there is a 1 in one of those squares. There is a 1 in one of those squares. So where is the 1 in row thingy? One of those squares. Now the problem there is going to be that that 1 might not be a 1. It might be a 10. So it might be able to accompany a 9. But, okay, what that is doing, I can see, is it's saying that there is a 1 in one of those squares, which we probably knew, didn't we? Yeah, we did know, because the 9, wherever that lives up here, is on a 9, 10, 8, 7 line. And the 1, the 10 on that, will have to be in these squares to allow that line to exist. So one of these struts, this one or this one, is a 7, 8, 9 strut. That's weird. Okay, that square. I see, I don't want to pencil mark that. Because that's dependent on what the nature of the smile is. Which is a bad thing, isn't it? So that's 8, 9. So maybe we've got to think harder now then. If this is 1, 2, I do know that this is an 8, 9 pair. And I do know that it's 8 on top of 9, don't I? Because the 1 can't go next to the 9. So that I would know that this is an 8. But would I know any more than that, is the question, or a question. Okay, here's a point that I hadn't appreciated. Independent of how these lines look, there is 3, 4, 5 on here, and there's 3, 4, 5 on here, and if I switch these smiles round, that is still true. So the 3, 4, 5 in this row are definitely, okay, they're definitely in these squares. So this is always a 2. There's a digit. That's another digit that we've earned that's actually a true digit. These are not 2. I don't know what that does, but it's true. Probably does nothing. Oh no. Okay. So these wouldn't be 8 in this example, would they? These would be 6, 7, 9. But these would be a 6, 7 pair. And that might be important, but I can't work out why. Oh, my phone's buzzing again. No, I'm not looking at that. That's confusing. Right, so what does this mean? Well, I wish I knew. Is there anything we can deduce from this? If this was this way round. If this was this way round, you can't put... Ah! Ah! Hang on. Wow. Okay. I've got some mad logic, I think. I think I've just found mad logic. That would be fantastic if I have. Okay. This might be right. I think I've got to use that funny rule. Right, let's try this. Okay, I had an epiphany then. I'm not sure if my epiphany holds, but some of the logic definitely holds. So if we're in this iteration of the world, I want to look at these 3 squares, noting that the 1 and the 9 that live in these three squares can't be adjacent, can they? This is it. It's very simple actually now. Because that being the case, we know this line has 1 and 9 on it. So the 1 and the 9 could not be here because they will be next to their friend, and that's bad. So that has to be a 7. But that's broken it. That's broken it because this is beautiful. Because now, where do I put 7 on that massive line? Now that massive line was an 8-cell line. So we worked out what the digit could be that's not on it, but it must have a 7 on it. It's an 8-cell line. There's no way you can cut 7 consecutive digits from the digits 1 to 10. Not 7, 8 consecutive digits from the digits 1 to 10 without including a 7. So I have to put 7 on this line. Where am I putting it? The answer is nowhere. And that falls actually a bit as a result of this square being a 1 or a 2. Because if this square had not been a 1 or a 2, I could have put 7 here, but I can't in this version where I've put 1, 2 here and 8, 9 here. This is absolutely massive. Because now what we've basically proved is... Oh no, hang on, I'm going to leave all this in. I'm going to do this very slowly. I've proved... Well, these are correct. We know that. I don't know... But what is not correct, necessarily, is... Well, what I know is not correct is this is not a 1-2 pair. That cannot work. So this... Whoopsie. This is the 6, 7, 8, 9 thing. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing. And this is the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thing. These are the 1, 2. These are the 1, 2. These are the 8, 9 thing. And we know that we can't put the 9 in the middle of the 1. So that's the 8. That's the 9. That's the 8. So we've just basically reversed this box and this box. And hopefully, right, we've got to take this out because this might not be right. I need to think about this. These squares here were a 1-7 pair now, weren't they? Because these lines were correct. This line needs to have more options put back into it. Because these were only 6, 7 when this was 1, 2, which they now aren't. Well, no, I'm wrong. We could probably do something similar in a moment, but I've just got to stare at this for a second or two. Now it is legitimate to knock things out of here. That cannot be 5 or 7. This cannot be 2 or 5. It's useless. There's all 1 apparently. If that pencil mark is correct. Yeah, that pencil mark was correct because that was noting the fact that we had to put 1, 7, 8, 9 either there or there. Okay, let me go back to my other thought then, which is interesting. I think it's interesting. Yeah, so what I was going to say is that the 7 that exists in this domino, we've already talked about this. That 7 has to exist on this, or a 7 has to exist on this 8-cell renban, and it's not now in any of those squares. Look, so in this domino, in that domino there is a 7, but there is also a 7 in that triomino. So there are 2 7s in those squares. And isn't that saying, and it might not be, so forgive me if this is wrong, but isn't that saying that this can't be the 1, 7, 8, 9 triple? I'm going to have to think about this again. I'm sorry, I know I've done this about 4 times already, but neither of these renbans can be 6, 7, 8, 9 because of this. That's certainly true. So the 9, wherever it lives, is partnering up with a 1. And it's on a renban that is 1, 9, 8, 7. And the 1 on that renban is therefore there or there, because neither of these squares can be 9, 8 or 7. And that means that the 7, 8, 9 live either there or there. Well, they're not there if there's a 7 in orange. So they are here. This is 7, 8, 9. This is 1. This digit is a 6 now. So that, no, neither of those digits are 6. There is a 6 up here. There is a 6 on this one, but we already knew that, didn't we? Because now what we, well, let's fully pencil mark this. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's not 6 or 5. That's 3 or 5. Oh, I see. There's a 3, 4 pair in the column, apparently. So the 5 and the 6 are on this side of this box, which means these squares don't include 5. So 5 is in one of these squares. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. It means 8 is in one of those squares. That's what it means. Now, what else might it mean? I don't know. These squares are now low digits, and they're not 5 because 5's down here. So these are from 1, 2, 3, and 4. If that's helpful. I know these aren't 1 because the 1 has to be up there. So these are just 2, 3, and 4. Which might be important. I'm trying to see what this means. I'm just not seeing it. I know one of these is a 7. I know one of these is a 7. So I know one of these is a 7. Ah, here's a tiny point. Whatever that digit is, this one here, let's give that a red flash. Whatever that digit is, where does it go in this box? Because this digit can't be 1. And oh no, can it be 7 though? Yeah, maybe it can, if that's a 7 and that's a 7. Oh, bobbins, I don't know. So perhaps I'm meant to be thinking about something else then. It's not that. What was the funny rule? Oh, we can't put 1s and 9s together. Can I use that somewhere? Yeah, I can get rid of a 9 from there. Can't get rid of a 9 from here because I don't know where the 1 is exactly over on this side. Right, so we're still a bit zugzwanged here. Although, to be honest, I'm quite. Oh, I've had an hour. How can I have had an hour? Okay, maybe these squares. These don't include 8 or 9, so these are from 1, 6, and 7. Is that useful? Might be, but I don't see why. Oh, goodness, I don't know. It could be something to do with... Here's a... I see. Yeah, I've got something. Right, this can't be a 1. This was not where I was expecting to find joy, but I think this is true. If this is a 1, what is the accompanying digit on the renban? Now, remember that we could have the 1 counting as 10. So it could be a 1-9 pair, except it can't because of the rules. 1 and 9 are never orthogonally adjacent. So this is not a 1-9 pair. So if you do put 1 on here, what do you have to partner it with? And the answer to that is 2. But that won't work, because if this is a 1-2 pair, what are these squares? Well, they can only be 3 and 4 by our pencil marking. So there isn't enough space there for the number of digits. That's five cells for 4 digits. That's not going to work. So this is just not 1. And that's really interesting, because that means that is 1. And that's putting 1... Yeah, that's putting 1 on this line, which is a 6-cell line. Now, if this one counted as 10, this line would have to have 10, 9, 8, 7. Where are we putting 9, 8 and 7 in those squares based on our pencil marks? We can't put them on. So this line is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we've got 1 and 6 on it already. So these squares are only from 2, 3, 4 and 5. Oh, that must do something. These are all different. These aren't 1 anymore. It's nearly doing something, isn't it? It just doesn't seem to quite work. Oh, bother. Could we... Oh, sorry, I don't see it. I'm not so sure what I have to do. Okay, alright, well, I suppose what we do is we use this line, don't we? Because this line now has a 9 on it. Don't know where it goes, but it definitely has a 9 on it. So this line, yeah, this line has a 9 on it, but doesn't have a 1 on it. I think that's right. The 1 in box 6 is there. This square can't be a 1. So this line is... Let's just fill in the options. It's 9, 8, 7, 6. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 are the options. But, so this square can't be a 3, because we can't put that on it. So these squares are not 5. So it has got a 5 on it, but that's in one of those positions. Then this square can't be a 4, because there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. So these squares definitely include 6, 7, 8 and 9. Oh, we can't pull this trick up here again, can we? Probably not. I can't remember how this works up here, but we've got a 6, so we must have 7, 8, 9, 1 on one side. So if these were from 1, 7, 8, 9, where would you put 2 and 3 in the column? They couldn't go in, could they? In fact, maybe that's a general point. Yeah, here's a general point. It's a bit simpler. Where's 2 in this box? And the answer is it's there. It's in one of these two squares. But that means that 2 can't repeat here on the renban. And 2 must be up there. Okay, and that tells us the nature of this. Because once 2 is on this side, 1 must be on this side as part of a 7, 8, 9 triple. So this is 1, 7, 8, 9, and that square's not 5 anymore, which means this is 5, and these squares are 2, 3, 4, and that means that square's 5. 4 comes out of these squares, 5 comes out of these squares. 4 must appear on this line, so it's there. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's... okay, maybe that's right. It seems logical. I'm just sort of a bit skeptical. It seems to almost too good to be true. This is now a 3. That's a 4, because we can't repeat 3 on the renban then. These squares don't include 3, so they've become a 2, 5 pair. And presumably... I don't know what that's doing, but it's jolly exciting. This square's not 4 anymore. So 4, 4, there's a 4 in either that cell or that cell. There's a 7, 8, 9 triple in column 8. These squares don't include 5. This is magic, isn't it? It's absolute magic. Now 6 is in one of these squares, in column 7, so it's not here. So 1 is definitely in this domino at the bottom, so 1 is not on this side of the grid. We're closing in on something. This is not 2. This is not 2. These are not 4 because of this 4. Oh, I see. So we get a 2, 3, 5 triple in the column. Right. I can't do parity on that, can I? It's got to have an even digit on it. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so a 2-cell renban operates a bit like a white Kropke dot. It's got to have an even and an odd digit on it because the digits on it are consecutive. Now that's all thrown into a bit of confusion here because of the possibility of a 1 counting as a 10. But the 1 can't go on there, so we don't have to worry about that. So it has to have a normal even digit on it. And that normal even digit is not 6 or 4. Now, here's the question. This is what prompted this when I saw this was 2 or 3. If this has got 2 on it as an even digit, what does it partner up with? Well, it can't partner up with 1, and it can't partner up and be a 2-3 pair because that will break this square. So this does have 8 on it. That's its even digit. Now the 8, well, the 8 doesn't go with 7. I know there's 7 in there because that's something we worked out earlier. So this goes with a 9. That's an 8-9 pair, which means these are not 9, and that's 9. And that's 7. Okay, so we've discovered the location of the 7. So, oh, I see. This square's 2 or 3 now. Ah, well, now I might be able to play that trick I wanted to play before. Yeah, where's that digit in this box? Because it can't be on the line, and it's not in those squares, so it goes there. These 2 squares are the same, so that's a red square. Golly. Well, oh, I see. Right, look. Now let's revisit this line, because this line doesn't have a 1 on it. So it has every other digit on it, because it's an 8-cell line. So it's not adulterated by the aces high idea at all. It's simply got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 on it. But, okay, that's interesting, but I don't actually know. I don't actually know how to do that. Okay. Could we do, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry if you can see what to do and you're shouting at me. I'm unsure. 7. Okay, there's an X-wing of 7s there. So 7 in row 4 is in this domino. It's not there. So these come down to 6, 8, or 9. It's desperately trying to do something, isn't it? It's just not quite doing it. And these definitely include 1. Okay, that's not 5. Maybe I've just got to be a bit more diligent about Sudoku. That's not 6. Or 5, actually. That's a 3 or a 4 because of this. Oh, okay. There is a 3-4 pair I've just discovered in this row. So these squares are 1, 7, 8, and 9. Oh, so maybe I've got to do something up here. How do these work? So on these lines, you can't have a 1, 7, 8, 9 line because it'll break. So the 1 has to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 line. So there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 line. And there's a 9, 8, 7, 6 line. Those things are true. And the 9, 8, 7, 6 line, the 6 of that line is going to be in one of those 2 squares. So that square is not a 6. Right, I've now got a 3-4 pair in the bottom row. That's come out of nowhere. nearly. Wow. No, what I was about to say is not true, so I'm not saying it. Naughty Simon. Okay. Could we do we have to do something using that funny rule? What's the funny rule is about 1s and 9s. Can we do anything with that? We might be able to somewhere. 9 is here, 9 is here. It's nearly. It looks like it wants to help us, but it's not quite being friendly enough. These squares look like they should be much more restricted than they are. 5, 6, 7. This column, I'm going to pencil mark it. I'm going to take the plunge. 2, 3, 4, and 6. 2, 3, 4, and 6. And that's not 6 because I know there's a 6 up here. So, you see, that's weird. There's a 2, 3 pair here that's coming out of nowhere. But it might not be useful, unfortunately. It means this square is 6, 7, 8, or 9. Which I desperately want to be useful, but I fear that it might not be. We could... I don't know what to do. It could be. Do you think it? I don't think it is Sudoku. I suspect it's something clever to do with the lines I've not fully investigated yet. But what is it? I know 7 and 1. 1, 1. 1 lives down here. 1 lives here. 1 lives here. 1 lives here. 1, 1. That's not a 1. So 1 in this box. Maybe it's something to do with 1s and 9s then. So 1 in this box is in this domino, which means 9 can't be in that domino as well, because otherwise that will break the rule. It could be something like that, couldn't it? Do we know how that works in this box? One of the lines is 6. No, we don't. One of the lines is 6, 7, 8, 9 up here. And the 6 is here. So one of these strands is 7, 8, 9. Which one? If that's 7, 8, 9, that's a 6. But if that's 7, 8, 9... Actually, if that's 7, 8, 9, a few things happen, don't they? Because that's a 6, that's a 5 as well. That would be a 1. That would be a 2, that would be a 2, this would be a 3, 3. Everything would probably collapse the puzzle. So it'd be a lovely thing to know if this was a 6. But if this is a 6, this is 7, 8, 9. And then this would be, this is 6, 7, 8, 9. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I see. And that would join up with this to make a triple in the column. These squares would then be from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, it's really close to... It's very close. I just can't quite see where the balance sits to figure this out. Well, okay, here's a question. It's an obvious question. Where's 5 in? 5 in that box has to go there. It's not going to do anything, is it? I don't think. Oh, well, that's a 3-4 pair, is it? So that's a 6. Oh, that's massive. Is that... Hang on, I'm unwinding that. Don't believe any of that. That doesn't feel right at all. Is that right? Because that's massive. That seems to be right. That becomes a 5. That seems to be a 3-4 pair. I don't know why, but that makes this a 6. But the reason that's so important is that gives me a 6 here. And if that's a 6, we know this has to be 7, 8, 9. Okay, I don't know what that's doing. Well, that means that's a 1 apparently. So these are 2, 3 and 4. But that means this is a 1 and this is a 2. Oh, that's not the way round. I wanted it to work. Bobbins. But if this is 7, 8, 9, that's not 7 in the corner. And that's not 7. But the 2 now has to go here by Sudoku. We get a 3, 4 pair here, so that's no longer 4. That has to be 4. Okay, this is not, whoops, this is not 3 or 4. That's not 4. That 2 gives me a 2 here and a 3 here. So this became a 2 after all that. So that becomes a 2, that becomes a 5, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 5, that becomes a 2. Please, please just keep going now. This is exciting. Oh, it's going to stop. I don't know. I think it stopped. That's a 3. That's a 1. That's good. So that's 1, that's 7, that's 7, that's 6. I've got an 8, 9 pair now in this row. So that becomes a 5. And we've not put into this column 6, 7s, 8s. Ah, the 5 comes out of those. That's big. So that becomes 6, 7. So this is an 8, 9 pair. And that means that square is a 6. Which means that's a 5, that's a 3. That's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 4. That's a 4, that's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 3. The 3s and the 4s are sort of helping. That's not 3. That's a 4. So that's a 2, that's a 3. I've got loads of 7s, 8s and 9s everywhere. Like loads. That's not 6. Okay, that's an 8, 9 pair. So this is a 7. So that's 7, that's 6. These are not 7 anymore. That's not 7. This is a seriously clever puzzle, isn't it? It's ridiculously clever. This is a 1, 7 pair. I can do that. 1 and 7. And 7 and 6 and 6. And 8s and 9s. Okay, how do we do these 8s and 9s? Oh, 1. There we go. 1 goes here. Oh, I know what it is. It's going to be that funny rule. Oh, it is that funny rule. Look, 1 can't go next to 9. Good grief. Okay, so that's 8, that's 9. So that's 8, that's 9, that's 9, that's 8. We can do it again here. That's got to be 8, 7, 9. That can't be 9, so it's 7. So that's 9. So that's 7, and that's 8. And that's 8, and that's 9. And I've done it. That's 8, and that's 9. I might have done it. Oh, yes. That took a lot longer than I thought. But that is a fabulous puzzle. My goodness me, what a puzzle that is. Oh, it's been out for ages. Sort of 3 months old. Very few solves. Good grief, what a puzzle. What an extraordinary creation that is. Weird and wonderful and magical. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. The hardest part of solves like that, especially on camera, I think, is that I'm constantly, I was very aware, as you could see, that these could all shuffle round, but I don't know how to sort of, I can't have multiple grids on the screen and things like that to sort of show all the iterations. It was very hard to keep track of, but I think it was logical. It felt logical, and it felt, very cleverly designed. I loved that point. It was quite late in the solve where I was able to see why this couldn't be the 1, 2. Because that would be a 1, 7. And then you couldn't put 7 on this line. I mean, that felt entirely deliberate. I don't know if it was, but Mormagli, take a bow. Loved it. and let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.